Have you ever wondered what it feels like to give all of yourself to someone, your time, your health, your love, only to discover, many years later, that you were nothing more than a shadow in their memory? I ask this not because I enjoy bringing sadness into your heart, but because this is my truth. It is the kind of truth that sits on your chest like a heavy stone, refusing to move until you speak it out loud. Before I go on, let me pause and say thank you. Thank you for giving me your time, your ears, and your heart. I am a 73-year-old woman now, and knowing that someone out there cares enough to listen to me makes me feel alive again. Life has a strange way of silencing older people, as if our wrinkles mean we have nothing valuable to say. But I have lived through storms and sunshine, through poverty and fleeting moments of joy. And I believe the years I carry on my back are not just burdens, they are lessons. And if my lessons can help even one soul out there, then perhaps all this pain is not wasted. My name is Tumusiime. I was born in Kampala, back in the days when life was simpler but also heavier in its own way. We did not have much, but what we lacked in money we tried to make up for with hard work and hope. I grew up hearing the old sayings of my people, proverbs that still echo in my ears. My grandmother used to say, "A tree without roots cannot stand." She reminded us that family was those roots, and if you took care of your family, they would always hold you upright. That belief carried me through most of my life. When I was young, I dreamed of education. I wanted to become a nurse, to wear the white uniform and serve people with my hands. But life had other plans. My father fell ill when I was only 16, and my mother needed me at home. By 18, I was married to a man who promised me love and stability. He was not rich, but he had charm, and I was a girl full of faith. Together we started a small life, raising children and dreaming of a future where maybe things would get better. Children came quickly. First my son, Daniel, who cried louder than any baby in the ward that day. Then, a few years later, my daughter Esther, with her calm eyes and a smile that made even the hardest days bearable. Raising them was never easy. There were nights when we had nothing but porridge for dinner, when I would pretend I was full so the little food could go to them. I worked in people's homes as a cleaner, sometimes as a nanny, doing anything I could to bring coins home. I used to tell myself, money can buy a bed, but not sleep. What good was wealth if your children were hungry? So I gave every drop of myself to make sure Daniel and Esther had clothes on their backs and hope in their hearts. Life taught me early that sacrifice is the language of motherhood. I remember carrying water in yellow jerrycans, walking miles because the borehole near us had dried up. My hands cracked, my back ached. But when I saw my children drinking clean water, I felt rich. I remember saving coins in a tin, hiding it under the bed so I could pay Esther's school fees. Sometimes the tin felt too light, but I would whisper to God, "Lord, multiply these coins like you multiplied the bread and fish." And somehow, school fees were paid. But life is never a straight road. My husband died earlier than I expected, leaving me with 2 young children and no steady income. I was only in my 40s, still with energy but now alone. That was when I truly learned the meaning of the proverb, "When the sun sets, you cannot stop it with your hands." No matter how much I cried, no matter how much I wished, the sun of my husband's life had set. It was my job to keep walking, even in the darkness, so I became both mother and father. Daniel grew strong and tall, and I pinned all my hopes on him. Esther was gentle, always the one to sit by me and hold my hand when I was tired. Daniel was my pride. Esther was my comfort. Many times I would sit outside our small house, watching them play, and I would whisper to myself, Jana, one day they will make you proud. One day this struggle will be worth it. Those days of struggle shaped me. I learned that life does not give you what you deserve, it gives you what you fight for. I learned that people will disappoint you, but you cannot let their choices kill your spirit. And above all, I learned that a mother's heart has no limit. You can be exhausted, hungry, broken, yet you will still stretch yourself a little more for the sake of your children. That is the rhythm of motherhood now. Sitting here at 73, I can see how all those years carved lines on my face. Each wrinkle carries a memory. One for the days of hunger, one for the nights of prayer, one for the laughter of my children, and many for the tears I cried in silence. And yet, despite everything, I always believed my children would stand by me when my body grew weak. After all, isn't that what roots are supposed to do, hold up the tree when the storms come? But sometimes life proves our proverbs wrong. Sometimes the roots you watered with your own sweat rot away, leaving you to fall alone. Today, as I sit here, it is my 73rd birthday. The air is quiet, the clock ticks loudly, and every tick feels like a reminder of the silence in this house. I had imagined that maybe Daniel or Maria, his wife, would remember me. Maybe they would at least call or send a small note. I told myself, don't expect too much, Jana. You know how busy life can be. But the truth is, every mother hopes. No matter how many times you are forgotten, you still hope. This morning, I cooked myself a small meal, just beans and posho, nothing fancy. I even put on my best dress, the one Esther bought me years ago before she moved to Jinja with her husband. I sat at the table, waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for a knock at the door, waiting for anything that would tell me I still mattered to my children. Hours passed. The phone stayed silent. The door remained closed, and here I am, speaking these words to you. Because if I keep them inside, they will choke me. A mother should not spend her 73rd birthday in silence, forgotten by the very children she gave her life for. Yet this is my reality. Still, I want you to listen carefully. I do not tell you this story only to bring sadness. I tell you because life has lessons hidden even in the deepest wounds. And as painful as it is, my story carries truths that I pray you will never forget. Asterisk, do you know what silence does to a person? At first, it feels peaceful, almost like a blessing. But slowly, it grows heavier, until it starts echoing inside your head like thunder in an empty valley. That is what my house feels like these days, quiet, but not the kind of quiet that comforts you. It is the kind that eats at you, reminding you every minute that the ones you nurtured no longer remember you. Daniel was once the boy who would run to me barefoot, dust flying behind him, shouting, "Mama, Mama, look what I found." He would bring me strange little things, a stone shaped like a heart, a dead beetle he thought was magical, sometimes just a stick he had carved with his small knife. To me, those things were treasures because they came from his hands, from his excitement. That same boy, now a grown man with his own children, cannot spare even 5 minutes to check if I am alive. That I remember when he first got married to Maria. She was beautiful, yes, with bright skin and sharp eyes. But there was always something about her that unsettled me. You know how elders say, not every smile is friendly. That is how I felt with Maria. She smiled, but I could sense she saw me as a burden, as competition for Daniel's affection. Still, I welcomed her, because what choice did I have? My son loved her, and love is not something you can question in the early years of their marriage. They would visit me, sometimes bringing fruits, sometimes nothing but themselves. I was happy anyway. I used to cook their favorite meals, laying out the best plates I had, as if a king and queen were coming. But slowly, the visits became less frequent. First it was, "Mama, we are busy with work." Then it was, "The children have school." Eventually, it turned into silence. When I call Daniel now, he answers with a tired voice, rushing through the conversation. He always says, "Mama, I will come soon. I promise." But promises are like morning dew. They shine brightly for a moment, then vanish when the sun rises. Esther, my daughter, tries. I know she does. She calls sometimes from Jinja, her voice gentle, like the Esther I raised. But she has her own life, her own children. She cannot leave her family just to sit with me. I do not blame her. Still, the truth is, a phone call is not the same as a hand holding yours, or a face smiling across the room. There is a saying from our elders: "The child of your womb can forget you, but your womb will never forget the child." Ah, how true it is. Every day I think of them. I pray for them. Even when they forget me, my bones may ache, my eyes may grow dim, but my heart cannot stop being a mother. It is both my gift and my curse. Sometimes I sit outside in the late afternoon, watching the neighbors' children run around, their laughter filling the air, and I wonder, where did I go wrong? Did I not give enough? Did I not love enough? Or is it simply that times have changed? That in this new world, parents are like old clothes, useful when warm, discarded when worn out. My mind often drifts back to the days of sacrifice. I remember one night in particular. Daniel was in secondary school, and his fees were due the next morning. I had no money, not even a single coin left. I spent the night walking from house to house, begging for small loans, promising to repay them with work. Some turned me away, some gave me just enough. By dawn, I had gathered the amount. I walked straight to the school, my feet blistered, my eyes red from lack of sleep, and handed over the money. Daniel never knew the cost of that day. To him, it was just another morning at school. To me, it was blood and sweat turned into coins. And now, that same boy cannot remember my birthday. That same boy cannot look into my eyes without checking his phone, without sighing as if I am wasting his time. Maria makes it worse. I once overheard her telling Daniel, "Your mother is too demanding. She wants attention like a child." My heart broke hearing that. I do not need their money. I do not need their gifts. All I need is presence. A mother does not crave riches from her children, she craves their love, their respect, their time. There are nights I lie awake, listening to the creaks of the house, and I feel a loneliness so deep it could swallow me whole. I whisper to myself, even the hen rests with her chicks at night, but here I am, alone. Do you know what hurts the most? It is not the forgotten birthdays, not even the empty visits. It is the feeling of being erased while still alive. When neighbors ask, "Where is your son, Mama Jana?" I smile and say, "He is busy with work." When they ask about Esther, I say, "She calls me often." But inside, I know the truth. I am covering for them, hiding their neglect, because admitting it out loud feels like admitting I failed as a mother. Sometimes I think of moving in with Esther. She at least still has a heart for me. But then I remember she has her own mother-in-law, her own struggles. I do not want to be another burden. My pride keeps me here, in this small house, surviving on little but memory. Life has shown me truths, bitter ones. One of them is this: you can pour water into a basket for years, but it will never stay full. That is what giving to ungrateful children feels like. You give and give and give, but when your time of need comes, the basket is empty. But let me also tell you what else I have learned. Happiness cannot depend on others, not even your own children. If you tie your joy to them, you will be like a tree tied to a goat the moment the goat moves. You will be dragged and broken. I have learned to find small joys for myself. The taste of hot tea in the morning, the warmth of the sun on my back, the simple act of breathing another day. Still, the ache remains. When you carry life inside you for 9 months, when you stay awake at night singing lullabies, when you deny yourself food so they can eat, how do you ever stop hoping they will return that love? That is the burden of motherhood. You cannot stop loving, even when love is not returned. This birthday, I sat alone, the clock ticking louder with each passing hour. I looked at the empty chair across the table, imagining Daniel sitting there, Esther laughing beside me, Maria serving food. I imagined my grandchildren asking me stories of the past, their eyes wide with curiosity. But imagination is a cruel friend. It gives you a taste of joy, only to remind you it is not real. So I put away the food, blew out the small candle I had lit for myself, and whispered, "Happy birthday, Jeanne." And yet, even in this pain, I hear my grandmother's voice. The one who has no people must become her own people. Maybe that is what life is teaching me now, that I must mother myself, care for myself, love myself, even when those I birthed have forgotten me. I do not hate Daniel, nor Maria, nor even Esther for her distance. Hatred is poison, and my old body cannot carry such weight. But I carry disappointment, and that too is heavy sometimes. In the quiet of night, I ask God a question. Did I raise them wrong? Or is this just the way of the world now? I do not know the answer, but I keep asking, because a mother's heart never stops searching. And so, here I am, 73 years old, sitting in a house full of silence, telling you these truths. My children forgot me on my birthday, but perhaps, in sharing my story, I will not be forgotten by the world. Perhaps my voice, carried through your ears, will remind someone out there to call their mother before it is too late. Because if there's one thing I know for sure, it is this: love should not be buried with the dead. It should be spoken, shown, lived while we are still alive to feel it. Asterisk, have you ever sat with your own heart and asked it, what do you truly want? At 73, after all the storms, after all the tears, I have begun to ask myself that question, and the answer has surprised me. For years, I believed my happiness was tied to Daniel, to Esther, to Maria, to the grandchildren. I thought if they loved me, if they came to me, if they remembered me, then my heart would be at peace. But I see now that was a chain I put on my own soul. Because the truth is, sometimes the people you give life to will walk away, and you cannot make them turn back. You cannot make the river flow uphill. The day after my birthday, I woke up with swollen eyes. I had cried quietly into my pillow until dawn, so no one would hear me. Though no one was there to listen, my bones ached more than usual. I thought to myself, Jana, will you allow this pain to bury you? Or will you rise, even with weak knees? So I got up. I boiled tea. I stepped outside, and I sat in the golden warmth of the sun. The air was crisp, carrying the smell of damp soil after a night of rain. Birds hopped around, pecking at the ground, unbothered by the troubles of men. And I whispered a prayer, Lord, give me strength to find joy again, even if the ones I birthed do not bring it to me. That morning, something changed in me, you see. Life has a way of teaching you lessons when you least expect them. Sometimes, the absence of love from others is God's way of telling you to love yourself more. I decided that if Daniel and Maria would not sit with me, I would sit with myself. If Esther could not visit, I would still celebrate her love from afar. If my grandchildren never asked for my stories, I would write them down, so perhaps one day, someone else would read them. I began small. I started tending my little garden again. The soil was dry, but my hands knew what to do. Planting seeds, watering them, watching them push through the earth. It reminded me of life's truth. Growth takes time, but it comes if you nurture it. I told myself, Jana, if you could raise children from helpless babies to grown adults, you can raise these plants too. And maybe these plants will not abandon you. I also began to walk more. My knees protested, but I ignored them. I would greet neighbors, talk to the children running around, even laugh with the women selling fruits by the roadside. One woman, Miriam, said to me, Mama Jana, your smile makes you look young again. And for the first time in years, I believed it. Do not misunderstand me. The pain of Daniel's neglect, the ache of Esther's distance, the sting of Maria's words, they are still there. They may never leave. But pain, I have learned, does not have to be the driver of your life. You can let it sit in the back seat while you steer yourself forward. I remember my grandmother used to say, when the drum beats too loud in your ear, step back, and you will still hear the rhythm. That is how I see my situation now. My children may not be near. Their love may not be loud in my life anymore. But if I step back, I can still hear the rhythm of motherhood inside me. It is quiet, but it is there. One evening, as I was watering my garden, a young boy from the neighborhood came running. His name is Joseph. Maybe 10 years old. He said, Mama Jana, can you tell me a story? My grandmother tells me you know many. I looked into his bright eyes, full of innocence, and I felt something warm spread in my chest. I said, sit, my son. Let me tell you about the time the river almost swallowed me when I was your age. And I told him. He laughed, he gasped. He clapped his hands, and in that moment, I realized I may have lost my children's attention. But there are still ears in the world that want to listen. There are still hearts that can be touched by my words. That night, when I lay down to sleep, I felt lighter, because happiness had come from an unexpected corner, not from Daniel, not from Esther, but from a neighbor's child who saw me not as a burden, but as a storyteller, as someone valuable. It reminded me of another truth. The tree does not eat its own fruit, meaning, sometimes, the people you raise may not be the ones who benefit from you. Sometimes, strangers will taste the sweetness of your labor. And that is not a tragedy, it is simply life. Still, my heart whispers at night. It whispers, maybe tomorrow Daniel will call. Maybe Esther will visit. Maybe Maria will soften. And perhaps they will. Perhaps they will not. But I no longer allow that whisper to control me. Because if I wait only for their love, I will die waiting. Instead, I tell myself, Jeanne, you are still alive. Your breath still fills your lungs. Your hands can still touch the soil. Your eyes can still see the sunset. That is enough reason to rise. Do not think I have stopped praying for my children. I pray every night, calling their names one by one. A mother's prayer never retires. But I also pray for myself now for peace, for strength, for the courage to let go of what I cannot control. The truth is, many mothers like me suffer in silence. We smile in public. We defend our children. We pretend we are fine. But inside, we carry wounds no one sees. I speak today so that others may not feel alone. If you are listening to me, and you have a mother somewhere, do not wait for her funeral to say the words she longed to hear while alive. Call her, visit her, hug her, because love unspoken is love wasted. I will not lie to you, there are nights I still cry, but there are also mornings I wake with hope. That balance, that mixture of pain and joy, is what it means to be alive at 73. It is what it means to be human.